Hello, welcome to another video on the Rosey Life. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking the videos. And thank you members for being a part of the membership channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about a wonderful and amazing session that I had this morning with one of my clients. And she gave me permission to share her instant success story that happened during our session that is going to help so many of you. You want to say hi? Mabel's over here. She's like, say hi. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say, I'm bringing more magic. I'm bringing more magic onto the Rosey Life. Okay? Thank you. Okay, so she wanted me to share with you guys what happened because it's so powerful. It's gonna sound like a very simple story, and yet it's extremely powerful what took place. And she is so excited to apply this to the rest of her life, and for all of you to apply this to the rest of your life, or in all areas of your life. And it is an example of instant shifting, right? It's like a lot of you say, how do I instantly shift? And we're going to talk about this today. And I'm going to bring in another example from another video to elaborate this in this video so that all of you have this spiritual understanding that goes beyond the logical, linear understanding, because remember, they're not the same. I was talking to another client, the understanding that you have from a book or from reading or from watching videos or whatever is never going to even come close to the spiritual understanding. And what that really means and what that looks like is that spiritual understanding is experiential. Your experience of who you really are is where you receive or you experience that spiritual understanding. So stick with me, you're really gonna love this video. So we were talking and she asked me to share with her how I manifested Mabel, and I'm going to do that in another video, right, where I'll add it into another story somehow. But what I was sharing with her the story of how I manifested Mabel, and I think that's so cute how that rhymes even, right? Manifested Mabel, manifesting with Mabel, Mabel manifested, whatever. Anyway, so by the way, if you guys are on TikTok and you want to support Mabel, she has a TikTok account. It's only going to be about her little life. It's called Meet Mabel. So it's Meet Mabel, and I'll stick the info in the description box below if you guys want to support her and follow her. I'm just documenting her from puppy to adult and all her little shenanigans because I just think it's so cute. Okay, anyway, so she was asking and I was sharing with her about how I manifested Mabel. And while that was going on, right, I was wrapping up the story with her, and an alarm went off in her building. And she said, she had told me about this before in another session. She said that in her building, these alarms, like, they're so annoying and loud, and they go off and they last forever. And so while I was wrapping up that story, the alarm went off, and she became very agitated and annoyed, and she was, like, why is this happening right now while I'm having a session with Rose? And she was just like, oh my God, this is what I'm talking about. She says, can you hear this? And I said, no, actually, I don't hear anything. And she was like, hold on, let me grab my dog. And she grabbed her dog and covered her dog's ears because she didn't want her dog's ears to, she said, I don't want her hearing to be affected. So she said, I'm sorry, I have to sit here with my dog and cover their ears. And I said, that's okay. And I said, I don't hear anything. And I kept telling her that I don't hear anything. And then she asked again, she said, I'm really sorry. And I said, I can't hear anything. I can't hear the alarm. And she said, wait, what? She says, how can you not hear that? And then she started looking at her computer and she says, oh, maybe it's because of Google does noise reduction, and that's why you can't hear it. She says, that's odd because it's really loud. And I said, I said, hey, I said, what if this is a good thing? And she says, oh, she says, maybe I should get up and go, leave the building. She says, but when I've done this before, it's nothing. It's there's something going on with, or she says, there's nothing wrong. She says, I don't even know why it's going off. And she says, when I've gone out, everybody just goes back in because there's nothing wrong. And she says, I don't want to go. And I said, no. I said, that's not what I said. I said, what if you decided to say that this is good? What is happening is a good thing. I said, what? And she said, wait, what? How is this a good thing? And I said, because you're saying it is. I said, if you accept that what's happening, it's okay that it's happening, and you call it good, then you are sucking the life out of it. In other words, you're sucking all the power out of it to have any effect on you negatively, and you'll not want to react to it anymore because you see it as something good that is happening for you. And as soon as I said that, she said, oh, and the alarm stopped immediately when she shifted to accepting. And when we're talking, she says, I didn't really understand what you meant by accepting, but I wanted to try to understand what that meant. And just by my trying to accept it, the alarm stopped. And so we kept talking about this, and I said, this is perfect. I said, this is a perfect example, and it happened for your good, for our good. I said, it happened for good, for your good. And I said, it happened in your reality, not mine. That's why I couldn't hear it. I said, so understand that it wasn't just the, I said, she said, well, I thought it was because of the Google noise canceling feature. And I said, that's the explanation on how, why. That's how you can experience, and you needed that explanation as to why you could hear it and why I couldn't hear it. I said, but that's kind of like what Neville Goddard was talking about, is that you're going to be tempted to say it would have happened anyway. That, oh, that's the explanation. That explains why Rose couldn't hear it and I could because of the noise canceling, and remove the credit from her, that she wasn't the cause, that the Google noise canceling was the cause. That he said that you're going to be tempted to say it would have happened anyway, or this is the reason, that's the explanation, that's no big deal, that's nothing. He said, but don't for 1 minute give your power away to anything other than to you. You are the cause. You are the only source of it all. And I reminded her of that too, and she says, whoa. She says, hold the phone. She said, so if I look at everything in my reality, either if it's wanted or unwanted, and like I mentioned in my video yesterday, right, that everything is happening for me. She says, if I see everything as good, whether I believe whether it feels good or not, whether it looks good or not, whether it feels freaky or nervous or whatever or not, she says, if I say there's a good reason why this is here, I don't prefer it to be happening, that's different. And she caught that. She said, I'm not saying I want it. I'm just noticing that I can label everything as I want to, that it's good. Because, and I said, yes, and the reason why you can stand firm in conviction that it is good is going back to what Joseph Murphy said in The Power of Subconscious Mind, that it's all God. There's nothing but God. There's nothing but good, right? There's nothing but God. And God, source, is only good and love. And if there's only God, and that's all there is only God, then there's only good, and then there's only love. That's all there is. So that is why you can look at something, even with a seeming appearance that it's not good, that it's not working, that it's not what you want. You can call it good, because it is good, because there's only good, there's only God. And I know that it might feel challenging to look at something that you don't want and call it good. But here's the thing, when you do that, and Bashar mentions this, when you call something good, when you look at it and say, there is a perfectly good reason why this is here, and I'm not going to invalidate its existence here in my reality. I'm going to call it good, and there's a good reason. I don't prefer it, but there's a good reason why this is here. This is not my choice, but there's a good reason why this is here. There's a good reason why it looks silent. There's a good reason why it looks like there's no movement. There's a good reason why, but it's not my choice. It's not my preference. You're no longer judging this thing with the eyes of lack. You're judging it from the viewpoint from God, that God only sees everything as good and perfect and whole. And now you are doing the same thing. Now that thing, you suck the life out of it, essentially. Not the life out of it, but what's the word that I heard Bashar say? He's like, you use it all up. That's what he says. You use it all up. In other words, that thing no longer has the authority and power to stand there, and because you're not giving it anymore, right? So you say it's good, so now it's not something that you'll negatively react to anymore, because now you recognize it for what it really is, and it's all God, it's all good. And when she did that, she instantly stopped hearing the alarm in the building. And before it would have gone for a long time, she said, she's like, it just shut off, because she accepted, even she didn't fully accept it. She was just trying to understand what I was saying, to accept that this could be a good thing. There's a good reason why it's happening. And she was just focused on trying to figure out how to accept it. That alone caused it to shift for her instantly. Do you see? And so she was like, okay, so I can do this with everything in my life then. She said, this is going to be so much fun, Rose, because now I get to call everything good. Everything is perfect. Everything is love. Everything is God, because that's all there is. There's nothing but God. And the moment that you do that, those things, those unwanted things, not only did you put a big old label on them called good, now those things must yield and work for you in your benefit. And now they become part of the unfolding of whatever you want. They either will just not be relevant to you anymore, or they'll become part of the unfolding. Do you see? Either way, we don't really know how, but we know that when we decide and call something what it is, and it always reminds me of that scripture that Jesus says that I called you by your name. And that's what you're doing, is you're calling everything by its name. Good. You're calling everything by its name. You're saying it is all good because there's only God and there's only good. Do you see? And then you're saying, but that's not my preference. That experience, the bank account balance, right? The health, the SP, this is not my preference of how this is, what this is looking like, but I know that this is serving me. I know that this is good because that's all there is. There's only good. There's only God. So what she did, essentially, if you guys watched my video in where I talk about the unfolding, right? And I use my fan that when you choose something, that you're choosing it from above logic. You're not choosing it in linear time. You're not choosing it just from, spilling out words, right? You're going within, like Joe Dispenza talks about, and I've said this before, in a lot of his meditations, he goes into the dark space, into the space of nothing, or, I used to listen to his meditations a long time ago, but he would say go into where there's no time and no space, in that dark space in you, when you close your eyes in your mind, that there's nothing there, that you're basically in the middle of of space, like there's nothing. And he guides you to that so that you rise to that, you rise into that consciousness of all that is, the isness, existence itself, life itself, before I am. That's existence itself. That's before I am, before that Christ consciousness, right? You are existence itself. So you're going up into existence itself. And from there, you're saying, I am. You are declaring yourself to be something. And then you drop into the 3D, and that's the unfolding. Oh, here's my fan. So here's the fan, right? So when this client, she became aware, she says, I accept that there's nothing but good. Then the unfolding of that past, present, and future happens with her desire, right? It silenced the alarm. And it's the same thing. When you go within and you say, I am wealthy, you're doing it from that existence, from life itself, right? It's beyond thought, feeling, beyond time and space. It's beyond everything. When you go in within imagination, that's what you're doing. When you are identifying as God, as source, as I am, that's what you're doing. You're like, okay, I'm going to go in and choose as source. I get to choose whatever I want to. And you're persisting in there. For example, I am wealthy, right? From there, you're saying I'm wealthy, and then it unfolds in time with the past, present, and future. But a lot of people are trying to affirm from in here the past, present, and future. No, you're doing it within. That's why those meditations that Dr. Joe Dispenza did were so powerful. I mean, a lot of meditations are powerful, not just his. I've heard many other people's, right? But he always was pointing you to go in and up, meaning go within and up into your imagination, where you imagine, where you affirm, where you're declaring. And even if you're not meditating, even if you're just with your eyes open and you're walking down the street and you're affirming and you're saying, I am, that's going within. Remember that every time you utter the words, I am, you are going within into your power, into that identity as God, not as a little you, not as a little body you, but you're using that power and authority of I am. And when you say I am, you're doing it from within. Do you see? And then it unfolds into time, space, into that experience of a 3D. But when you're affirming, you're not doing it from there. That is why when you affirm, it's so powerful, because you're doing it from within that power and authority that you are. So when she said she accepted, she's like, wow, okay, this is happening for a good reason for me. And then she was able to experience there. She went within. You go within and you decide who you are. And then that unfolds. How it unfolds, we don't know. How long does it take? We don't know. But when you affirm it, when you declare it, when you visualize, that's instant. And that's instant. That's why it can appear that things happen so fast or instantly, right? Because that is where you're recognizing, and that's what I was walking this client through, is that it wasn't about, oh no, a good thing's happening. She's like, oh yeah, maybe I should listen to it and take inspired action and go outside the building. And I said, you can. I said, but that's not what I'm talking about. I said, I'm talking about something from a higher perspective of I am, that this is good because there's only God. Do you see? And immediately when I said that, she shifted into I am and understood what I was saying, that accepting that it's all God, it's all good, it's all happening for me, and I don't prefer this thing. And then you can remind yourself of what you chose. And sometimes I don't even have to do that. I don't even have to remind myself of that. I can just say, no, this is not what I chose. I don't prefer this, right? I don't prefer this, but I can accept that this is happening for a really good reason. This is all part of the unfolding, right? I don't prefer this, because it's already clear what I chose. It's already clear what I affirmed when I visualized it, when I wrote it down, when I assume it. It doesn't matter how you do it, right? It's already built in. It's a built-in assumption to you say, I don't prefer this. Do you see? Immediately you're saying, I don't prefer this. I already said who I am. So you can affirm it, you cannot affirm it. It doesn't matter. There's no right way to do this, right? Some of newer people on my channel ask me, like, how often should I affirm? How often should I do this? It doesn't matter. There's no rules. There's no rules to it. And even I feel like the word persistence, I might do a video on this. Even the word persistence, I think, has become a technique of itself instead of what it really means. Persistence is returning home, is coming back to the oneness of who you are, and remembering that from here, I am all things and I get to choose all things. You're returning home. It's not persistence to say, I gotta do it, I'm in. Kind of like robotic affirming, right? And you can do that. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it, but you can. Okay, but I feel like persistence has become just like, you got to keep doing it, right? It's more about you remembering, you keep coming home to who you are and what you prefer. You're like, I don't prefer this, but this is just really another level up of how to look at your 3D circumstance. And I said your 3D, right? Not the 3D, because you have your own 3D. Think about that. Everyone has their own 3D. You all have your individual 3D to play around with, because that 3D is within you. So there's not a mass 3D, a mass common 3D. No, it looks like it, but it's really you and having your own experience of your own version of your own 3D. Yes, we're here with others, but you have manifested versions of them to be and experience and play within your 3D that no one else has access to, just you. So it's your 3D. This is another way to understand what your 3D is. It's all good. Like I said in my video yesterday about everything's happening for you, everything's happening for me. Do you see, instead of thinking things are happening to you, or you're taking things personal because you think they have their free will, they're doing something to you. I didn't ask for that. Instead, this is really raising the bar of how you look at your 3D. This is you walking around and remembering, one, it's all happening for me. Two, there's only God, so everything is good, and I get to decide what it all means. Well, doesn't matter what it looks like, doesn't matter how I've reacted, doesn't matter what I feel about the situation. If I say it's good, then I'm declaring that that thing is good. It is God, and it is serving me. I don't prefer it. I've already decided what I want. So this thing must be yielding to me and conforming to me to what I desire right now. All right, my loves, I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you guys loved it. And I love you guys all so much. You're all so freaking amazing. And thanks again for liking, and thank you for subscribing to The Rosey Life. I love you guys all so much, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.